welcome back to Four Corners of the Galley. I'm your host, Pete Bow, and you're joining me on our Deadpool 2 spoiler movie review. That's right, folks. We saw Deadpool 2 over the weekend, and we're here to give you my reactions to the movie overall and talk about some of the different spoilers and all the different end credit scenes. So, if you have not yet seen Deadpool 2, please understand this is full-blown spoilers. If you have, please enjoy the conversation. And if you still don't care, then here you go anyways. Alright guys, so Deadpool 2 came out this weekend. It had a strong opening. It did $125 million. It is down from Deadpool 1. That was kind of shocking to me because I had predicted it to be way above Deadpool and I thought it was going to be a huge opening. But it also kind of shows you a little bit of the marketing and maybe the movie overall. So, for me, Deadpool 2 was a fun, entertaining movie that was boring at times and does not live up to the first one. I've heard a lot of people and sentiment around the internet and different critics that think that and feel that this one is bigger and better than the first one. I just don't agree at all. I don't agree at all. I think Deadpool 1 was amazing. It was hilarious from start to finish. The story was tight. It brings you in the middle and it always comes back to this middle scene. This is more of a straight line story and I feel like I get what they were going for overall. The first one was about love, and this one's about family, and I get it. And what they do for family, I love. But the way they have to make family work, and the choices they make along the way, so that family works and that Deadpool gets his end results, I don't agree with. They cut out the girlfriend at the start. I mean, she's completely out of this movie. Monica, they bring her in for a quick couple of scenes, and what do? They kill her. So the whole first movie is about him trying to get her back and finding her and him not being without her, and you're all for it. And in this one, they go and just kill her at the beginning. I didn't like that decision. I just don't think that's smart writing. I mean, how do you do a whole movie where you chase after her and then you get to the second one and you kill her at the beginning? What's the point of that? So each one of these movies is Deadpool chasing after his girl the whole time? It's got the exact same concept as the first one. It's just done differently, and it doesn't have that great back and forth. The movie starts off hilarious. Deadpool's sitting, he's doing all this routine, and you find out what his routine is. He gets on these barrels, throws a cigarette in the air, and blows himself up. Hilarious. And then it retracts, and it shows it. The James Bond opening, I loved it. The jokes are great. I just felt like the story structure and some of the choices that they did with some of the characters and some of the choices they didn't do with the characters is what really overall fails for me. Plus, there were a whole lot of scenes in this one where it was like dead quiet. I mean, the introduction to Cable was done poorly. I mean, you have this great back and forth, all this humor, and it's got these great scenes leading up to it. And then the minute we get to the Cable scene, the first scene we get a Cable, first, they don't explain who he is at all. I mean, they do a horrible job of explaining him, and this is the biggest problem that people have with comic book movies, and I have with comic book movies, is they do a horrible job with the villain. Now, Cable overall, Josh Brolin overall, was amazing, and what he becomes later is amazing. But if you're not a comic book fan like myself, you're just not going to know who Cable is. Like, Cable comes into the movie, they don't introduce him, they give you no backstory, they don't give you his backstory until like an hour and 30 in the movie. So you have to go this whole movie not knowing who this guy is and then figure out the story later on, and then they do a piss poor job with it, and they really don't do anything. But let's get back to the scene where they bring in Cable. So they bring in Cable, and it's dead quiet. It's like dead quiet, and it's just like background noise. And I felt like to do a Deadpool movie where Deadpool talks to us, breaks all barriers, breaks all writing things, talks about how poor the writing is, makes a great joke about, and here is our big CGI battle. I mean, that's absolutely hilarious. You get to the introduction of this character you've been teasing since the first one, and you, for 5 minutes, go quiet as they introduce him? Heck no, it should have been Deadpool. Oh, this is Cable, we've been telling you about it, like goofing around or talking about him, like all kinds of nonsense. They got thrown a couple different things. I feel like they took that way too serious. The whole point of Deadpool is you never take anything serious. That's the whole point of Deadpool. Yes, do you enjoy what he goes through when he has actual trials and tribulations and he makes fun of it all times? Yes, but at the end of the day, you're not supposed to take this serious. Because if you were supposed to take this serious, then why in the end credit scenes do they basically go past all the movie and bring her back to life? And then they didn't take themselves seriously. They were having fun with themselves. They were having fun with their own selves, and they were having fun with Fox, where Fox makes a whole bunch of movies that don't have the timelines right. They hit a reset button, make it all seem like everything works again, and in Days in Future Past, everyone's alive. Kind of the same deal. I like the joke about that. So let's get off the bad stuff. Let's talk about all the great stuff. So the stuff that really works for me is obviously Ryan Reynolds is amazing. He's Deadpool. He's got this character down. He knows it to a T. He understands it. He breathes it. He lives it. What I felt they didn't do a good enough job is they didn't let him be Deadpool. Like, there's a lot of times where they just didn't let Ryan Reynolds be Ryan Reynolds and just fully use his Deadpoolism. Like, there were times they pulled him back some and didn't really want him to shine. And I get they wanted to bring in the family and the better element. Yes. Josh Brolin as Cable, excellent. He's great. The minute he comes on the screen and you see him and what he's doing, I think he's great. He plays that great angst and angry, old, angry mercenary type. The Tommy Lee Jones to his thing, the serious guy, and Ryan Reynolds playing the Bugs Bunny role. All that is great, but you really don't get that to the end. And when it does happen, when they get to their teaming up and fighting, it's great. They have that one shot where they show them both in frame and they're going at each other. Oh, absolutely hilarious. Domino, Zazie Beetz stole this movie. The minute she steps on the screen to the minute she goes off, she kills this role as Domino. She is amazing. I've known she's amazing since Atlanta and other roles she's been in, but she murders this role. She's charming. She's, you believe everything she's doing. She's just great. And she has a full-blown story. She starts off, you have no idea, but she answers an ad just like everybody else, and she says her job is lucky. She's lucky. They're like, okay, so why are you with us? She's like, I don't really know. She goes through all these events and you get to see the greatness, and then you find out that she was raised in this school that where all this horrible stuff is, and she goes, oh, that's why I'm here. It's a great story. It has an end, a middle, and a finish. I thought it was beautiful. Cable, on the other hand, really doesn't have a beginning. He kind of gives you a mumbled up middle, and you have a great ending. Now, the X-Force team, outside of Peter, they're all hilarious. And one of the biggest things that I always thought when we were watching the trailers, we really don't see much of them outside of Cable and Domino. And obviously, we know why. This is the spoilers. That whole introduction scene, them coming together, them all dying one by one because of the high winds and no one can control a parachute, was hilarious. I mean, like I'm saying, when the jokes hit, the jokes are great. And when they're in their moment, they're great. But I feel like without Tim Miller at the head and running this thing and only getting one half of the John Wick guys. Now, the John Wick guys have split up, and one is doing Deadpool, and the other one did, he also did Atomic Blonde, which has great action, but it was a horrible story, and I'm starting to see a lot of his horrible story elements bleed into Deadpool 2 because he gets a lot more autonomy, and they lean more heavy on the action than they did with the comedy and the heart like Deadpool 1. Deadpool 1 has great action, but it leans more on the heart and the overall greatness of Deadpool instead of this one, where the minute it gets slow, boom, we rush you right into an action set piece. Now, there's great action in this. They have great stuff. The best use of the Juggernaut ever created is in this movie. I mean, the Juggernaut actually looks like the Juggernaut, not that junk they put in X-Men Last Stand. Thought that was great. I mean, I cannot believe how perfect they got it. That's the one thing I will admit about Ryan Reynolds and what he does. He gets his comic book characters correct, and he gets them to a T. And I think whatever else about him and however else I didn't think this movie was as good as it could have been. He is amazing when it comes to picking his characters, getting it right, and making sure they all look exactly the way they should. I mean, he does a great job with Cable, great job with Domino they do, a great job with Juggernaut. I mean, they just do a great job with these known properties, and they make them and feel just like they were pulled out of the comic book, and I love that whole aspect. Also, some of the other funny stuff, the whole X-Force team, the invisible guy, when you get that little moment in his Brad Pitt, I thought that was funny. If you blink, you really don't see that it's Brad Pitt getting electrocuted. That was a great moment. The little kid, he can go back and forth. He's trying to be over the top, angsty. I know he's from where the wild people are. He doesn't really work for me, and a lot of people like him. I just don't feel like, I don't know if it was just the way he was playing the role. I get it, he was playing the angry teenager, and he was going through a lot, but he was just saying random stuff, and I guess that's what they liked and they wanted. It really didn't work for me that much. I just didn't approve of, I just didn't like that whole thing. T.J. Miller, he was kind of throwaway, and the biggest problem that I thought was, the old blind lady. She really had no purpose in this whole movie. They just kind of put her in there just to have her back, but they kind of waste her scenes in a lot of stuff. The character Dopender, he's absolutely hilarious. I love Dopender. Dopender's amazing. He has a great story. His story continues from the first one, and it only gets better. He has a close, middle, and end. He finally gets blood, and he wants to be a mercenary, and Deadpool is trying to push him back the whole time, so he ends up working with his buddy at the sister's mercenary place and cleaning up, and then he finally gets that taste of blood at the end when he needs it. I thought Dopinder was great. I love what they did with that. Colossus was also great. They did a great job with Colossus, and I really loved the relationship that Deadpool had with Colossus, and that's what I'm talking about. That was some of the best stuff, was the relationship between him and Colossus, like him boomboxing outside of his window, Colossus acting the way he is. I mean, all that was just done hilarious. The one-liners, the jokes are great. I think the jokes are amazing. I think they're hilarious jokes. The end credit scenes are some of the best end credit scenes. I mean, you got, obviously, so you get Deadpool after Cable saves everything, which I knew was going to happen, because anytime you introduce time travel in a comic book movie, just know no one's going to die and everyone can come back to life. And if you really thought that they were going to kill Deadpool at the end, come on, people. They're not killing Deadpool at the end. I never once thought Deadpool was dying. That scene had no emotion for me. I knew that at any point Cable could hit that button and go back in time, and that's where I was like, okay, we're just going to go back in time. It was kind of like what Infinity War, where Infinity War used the time thing, but they used it at the proper time, so it really hurt, and that's what I thought was great, where I felt like Deadpool just kind of misses on the whole dead thing. Now, I do love the whole Back to the Future teddy bear changing from the charcoal to the beautiful brown bear. I thought that was great. That was a great use of time travel. But I knew that he was going to fix it. But I will admit, when Deadpool gets it at the end from Megasonic Teenage Warhead and her girlfriend, and he goes back in time and does all those different things, you get a great Wolverine cameo. You get him fixing horrible Deadpool from Wolverine Origins. I thought that was great. You get him going to kill himself so he doesn't do Green Lantern. I thought that was hilarious. And obviously the first thing he does is save Vanessa, which we all knew was going to happen. So that was also great. Megasonic Teenage Warhead, I love her. They don't have her enough in this movie. I mean, she needs to be way more in this movie. You bring her in the first one, and we all fall in love with her. You would think her role would just get a little bigger in the next one. Instead, they cut it down. And I feel like that's what I just didn't like that much. I know they're trying to shove a lot into the sequel, and I know that they're pushing it out, and a lot of things change, and there was a lot of issues. Obviously, there was a director change, a lot of shift change. They had to do reshoots. A lot of people don't know about those things. They cut an end credit scene where they even say it in the movie, why don't you just go back in time and kill Hitler when he's in his crib? I mean, Deadpool actually says it, and they do that in the thing. I wish they would have kept that in there. I just felt like overall there was so much potential and so much could have been done, and it just didn't go that way. My favorite thing in this whole entire movie was when he joins the X-Men as a trainee. I mean, that is one of the greatest and most hilarious scenes in the world. But I felt like instead of him going right for the kid, right when he was becoming an X-Men trainee, they should have showed him on a couple other missions completely screwing it up, or maybe getting it right. Or you could have just done shown so much more than just they really bounce around this movie, and they don't really give. It's a clear-cut action movie with no back and forth, not a lot of Ryan Reynolds giving you the story. It's more of him depressed and trying to just get through the days. And I feel like a lot of the writing gets, like he says, gets lazy, and they just kind of are trying to get through. I can tell definitely where some reshoots come in, because there are scenes where they put Domino in it just to make sure she's in that scene where she really doesn't even say much, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely a reshoot to get her more in. I don't know. I was very unhappy with the results that I got, and I was hoping for a whole lot more. Maybe I should have went with tempered expectations, but I felt like the first one was so amazing that he was going to knock it out the park by only adding great actors on top of it. So my overall score out of 10 would be a 7.5 out of 10, 2.5 out of 10. I give this movie a C+. Has great humor, and a lot of acting is great, but I feel like the overall structure of the movie, and at times it even felt long, and this is only a 2-hour movie. And that's where I really feel like there's a disconnect, and I promise you this movie's going to drop like a rock in second week. I mean, they got Han Solo coming out this week, and Deadpool did 125, and it's a good number, but I don't think Deadpool does over 40 million. I think it does like a huge 60% drop. Solo's going to come in and just crush it. And then, if you don't get a good big word of buzz about this movie and how everybody loved it, it's going to drop. And I feel like this movie is divisive, and it's split down the middle a lot more than you would think. So, well, there you go, folks. Those are my thoughts and spoiler review on Deadpool 2. I'd like to thank you for joining me on this edition. Until next time, guys, good night, Ted.